Why, hello. Welcome to Real Talk Tuesday. And this is Real Talk. And tonight's event is all about HBCUs, PWIs, and you. I am Dr. Autumn Cavanis, Director of Real Talk here at Big Future. And I am so happy that you are joining me because we have been waiting for you. And you're probably thinking, who's we? Well, we's quite a bit. We from the Real Talk team and the fam, as well as BFFs, as well as Diaspora, as well as Big Future, and our incredible, illustrious all star panel. They have been waiting for you. And I have to say this as we really get into our title for HBCUs, PWIs, and you, but I figured if we were going to have a Real Talk Tuesday and really get things going, there would only be one place that I could film from. And that place just so happens to be in Austin, Texas, East Austin, Texas, at the first institution of higher learning and only HBCU, Houston Tillotson University. So I am in the Jackson Moody building doing this live with our incredible, illustrious panel that's all across the country. And I'm so happy to have you here. Let's talk about the agenda and let's meet this panel. So we only have 60 minutes, right? And today we're going to go through a few things. The first one is we're going to talk to our panel. We're going to meet them in a few moments. Then we're going to have a mystery poll, questions number 1 and 2. Questions. Please, while we're doing this, send the questions. We want to see, we want to talk with you. Real fam, real talk. We want to hear what's on your mind as you think about planning the next steps for your college and your career. After the questions, we're going to do another mystery poll. And then we're going to bring it back with what's next. So let's go ahead and meet our phenomenal panel. And I'm going to have to start, let's go on the East Coast. And let's start with Madam President. How are you doing today, Madam President?
I'm doing just great. Thank you to the College Board. Thank you, Autumn, for having us all here tonight. We're really looking forward to talking about our HBCUs and what's happening on the yard.
Yes, ma'am. And I would love to know, tell us your title, your institution, and why HBCUs, PWIs, and you, this session matters to students, caring adults, and families from your perspective.
Thank you. I'm Aminta Bro, the very proud 10th president of Bowie State University, the oldest HBCU in the state of Maryland. We're situated just outside of Washington, D.C., just west of Annapolis, just south of Baltimore. So we're in this idyllic, wonderful area on a beautiful campus, about 300 acres. We are specializing primarily in the STEM areas, but we're rooted in the liberal arts. And we were founded back in 1865. Preparing teachers to go out into their careers and into the community. Today, we are producing students who are studying in STEM areas from cybersecurity to computer science, data analytics, as well as in these incredible areas that students are not just studying in, but doing research in these important areas that are critical to societal needs today. We have students studying in natural sciences, trying to address issues around climate change and food insecurity, to our communications majors who are doing just these incredible things. But a hallmark for our educational product is that it's part of my vision to make sure that every student graduates with an entrepreneurial mindset. Because today, students are on a parallel track. They're going to get their degrees, and we want them to get those degrees. But at the same time, the world is changing so rapidly. So many of our students need to have a different mindset, prepared to enter the workforce or to start up their own business or create a new product. So I'll be glad to share more about what's happening. And why is this session so important today? Because the world is changing and higher education, our HBCUs are evolving. At BSU, again, we're not just preparing students for their careers to go into a job for the next 30 years. That was my generation and generations before. Today, there are jobs that are being created that we haven't even thought about that will exist in just a few years from now. So these students need to be career ready, but they need to have that innovative, creative mindset so that when the next change comes around, they're ready. They can pivot and they can navigate and manage their careers beyond completion of their careers, of their degrees.
I
Mhm,
love that. Thank you, President Bro. Thank you. And
mhm.
you know, President Bro, I think we need to go to the A, okay? Now the A could mean a couple of things for this gentleman right now. It could mean Arlington or it could mean Atlanta. Mr. Timothy Fields, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me. I am so happy to be on this esteemed panel and be talking to so many great students. My name is Timothy Fields. I am Senior Associate Dean at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. I am also co-author of the book, The Black Family's Guide to College Admission, a conversation about education, parenting, and race. I have spent the better part of the last 25 years in admission, highlighting the great opportunities that come from going to college, and most of that at Emory University. So I have kind of this unique perspective of being a historically Black college university graduate. I finished at Morehouse College, but my professional life being at a predominantly white institution and really understanding the benefits of both institutions for students. And the most important thing that I would offer is that I think we want to redefine success. There are multiple ways that you can be successful in the college admission process, and there's not just any one type of institution that you can navigate that. And so we just want to have a conversation about all the great opportunities that can present themselves for any institution you're looking at.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. And we're going to come back to Texas. Even though I'm at his alma mater right now, we're going to take it over to the H, somewhere outside that vicinity, Alief. How are you doing, Superintendent Mays?
I am well. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Thank you for asking.
So I am a Houston Tillerson graduate right there in Austin, Texas. So Autumn is at my home for years as a young student from Fort Worth, Texas. To our college folks on here, hey, we are looking for teachers and educators right here in Texas. So shameless plug. If you have students majoring in education, tell them don't be afraid to check out Houston, Texas. I am a student, a person that benefited significantly from the love, affection, and nurturing environment that a HBCU can provide. Attended, my master's and my doctorate at PWIs, so definitely see the benefit of both, and look forward to having a conversation and sharing some of those benefits for students.
Thank you, Superintendent Mays. Let's go ahead and go across 35. Let's go over to the 40 acres. How are you doing, Dr. Reddick?
Autumn, I'm doing wonderful. It's great to see you. Great to see everybody here.
And would you tell us why this panel is important to students, to educators, to parents, as well as what you do at the University of Texas?
Well, let me just start with the title, Real Talk. And I think when it comes to college admissions and thinking about college, we need real talk, right? You've got an array of folks here who are experts in the field. Myself, personally, I attended a PWI or a TWI or a HWI. We'll explain what that means in a little bit. But I actually was mentored by HBCU graduates. So President Bro, I was with my mentor today who graduated from, wait for it, Morgan State University in Baltimore. And of course, I was co-author of the book called Black College Mystique, written with my late mentor, Dr. Charles Willey, who was Morehouse class of 48. And so similarly, I see great value in both institutional types. I think it's wonderful to be a connoisseur and understand what the advantages of each institutional has. And just to understand the universities and colleges have lots to offer, even if you attend them or you visit them or you take resources from them. These are all things. We're part of the same community of higher education. So I'm just so pleased to be here with students and families and hopefully give some good insight on what the experience could be like.
Thank you, Dr. Reddick. And of course, we have to connect with an incredible colleague who was a phenomenal researcher, just an amazing individual. Dr. Ashley Robinson Spann, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I am good. This is a good day, right? I have a dream team, illustrious all-star panel. This is a good day.
Excellent day.
So talk to us more about what you do at College Board and why this panel matters.
Yes, so I am a Senior Director of Higher Education Access and Analytics with our Strategic Higher Ed team. So I look at the data analytics around the different College Board programs, particularly looking at how we're doing in terms of being equitable and making sure access is available for all students from different backgrounds, racially, ethnically, and socioeconomically. I am also a researcher, as you mentioned. I just recently completed my PhD program at Hampton University. So I'm just really looking forward to sharing the data perspective on college admissions and the college search process to help people make a more complete decision. I believe the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. So sharing the data and informing students on how to get the data is my goal here for today.
Love it. I tell you, Real Talk fam, this panel plays 0 games. So if you have questions right now, go ahead and put them in the chat. Now we're going to get a lot of questions. So if we don't get to your question, we're going to do our absolute best, okay? And we'll talk about that at the end of our panel. So let's talk about, we've heard now about UT, we've heard about BSU, we've heard about Emory. If you're interested in learning more, and I know you're going to want to know more about these respective institutions, all you have to do, Real Talk fam, is go to bigfuture.org. And then when you get to bigfuture.org, go ahead and click Plan for College and then College Search. And as you can see, I've already pulled up the profiles for Bowie State, for Emory, and for UT. And this gives you a lot of insight as to the institution that you're interested in. So you're going to learn a lot from our panelists today, but let that begin and really start your journey as you think through and plan for college. So let's go ahead, panelists, and let's just do a quick poll, because I really want to know about what an HBCU, what does that stand for? We want to go ahead and do a poll, if that's okay with you, producer. And as our producer gets the poll ready, I want y'all to think about, what does HBCU stand for? And panelists, I'm going to turn to you in a few moments after we launch this poll to give us some insight as to what that means behind the term HBCU. All right, so I see responses coming in. I see. We're going to go ahead and give you guys a few more seconds. There's definitely, panelist, one response that is in the lead. I'm watching over here. I love the metrics. I'm watching. Okay, we're going to close the panel in terms of the actual poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer that had the most votes at 95%, historically Black college and university. Panel, does that sound correct? And if so, what is an HBCU? What does that mean?
So I should ring the bell. Ding, ding, ding. They got it correct. Historically Black colleges and universities. So good for everyone who put that into the chat. Historically Black colleges and universities are designated as such by the Higher Education Act of 1965 to be those colleges and universities founded before 1964 for the primary purpose of educating African Americans in the United States, and are accredited institutions of learning. So it's important to know that bit of history, because as we talk about the other terms that you'll hear throughout this conversation, you're going to hear about HSIs and MSIs, and you'll be wondering, well, aren't they all the same? No, they aren't. HBCUs are written into the law. You cannot find a school today that can plant their flag in and say, oh, we want to become an HBCU. It can't be done, because we are designated, our HBCUs are designated as such by that Higher Education Act of 1965. So with that as the context, that gives you a little bit of the history, but I think it's important to delve even deeper when we talk about, well, what is an HBCU? And I want to encourage everyone listening, in order for you to really appreciate who we are, it's important you travel to the campuses as much as you can. If you have to, do it virtually, but ideally try to visit our HBCUs, because you feel it when you walk onto our campuses. We are a family. You heard the laughter, the bantering going on. This is every day at an HBCU. When you walk onto the campus, people recognize you. They will say hello, and they expect you to speak back too. Now, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a city girl. So I had to come into an environment to remember you got to speak to people because it's family. And they are known, and this president is one, to wrap your arms around somebody. And so I warn my visitors too, when you come to the campus, you can expect a good HBCU hug from time to time. And why is that so important to the definition? Because you have to go back to how we were founded. We were founded at a time when Black African Americans, newly freed slaves could not be educated. That is our history. And so we had to find a way out of no way to educate our African Americans, our newly freed slaves. And we have always, always had our doors open to everyone. So we educate folks in a way that is quite unique, rooted in history, not a great history in terms of that legacy, but we have carried on and we continue to thrive today. So a little bit of that history, everyone, is so important when you talk about, well, who are we today? But let's make sure we remember from whence we came.
Beautifully said, President Bro. Beautifully said. Let's go ahead and let's figure out another poll, because I'm curious. Now, President Bro has broken it down, deconstructed, so it doesn't need to be broken down anymore, okay? That was the soundbite right there, President Bro. What does PWI stand for? And we're launching the poll now. So now you have some insight. We've heard HBCU. We've heard about federal designated. We've learned some historical context. But now, Real Talk fam, real curious, what does PWI stand for? And I have to go take a sneak peek and see how we're doing on the surveys. Let me take a look. Okay. I see responses coming in, panel. We're going to close this poll down, Real Talk fam, in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, panel, we had two main answers. A, predominantly white institution, and B, primarily white institution. Could someone fill us in on what is the answer for PWI, and then perhaps give us some history beyond PWIs and where the terms currently stand?
I kind of feel seen.
Go ahead, Dr.
Go
Reddick.
ahead. Oh, okay. So yes, yes, the answer is predominantly white institutions. So PWIs, and President Bro did a great job of defining HBCUs. So ultimately, PWIs, predominantly white institutions, were founded typically at a time where African Americans were excluded from higher education and public education. So institutions that were founded before the Civil War often fit this category. Also, schools that were founded after the Civil War, because we didn't have true integration in higher education until the 1950s. So actually, PWI is a term that is often used to describe the historical aspects of it. But so many PWIs, such as University of Texas at Austin, are no longer predominantly white. So there are two terms we use to define these institutions today, one of which is HWI, historically white university or institution, which would explain how the university initially was founded at a time when African Americans were not able to enroll, or traditionally white institutions, right? Which means that even though the demographics have changed, I'm in Texas, right? So public institutions in Texas, for instance, University of Texas at Austin is an HSI, which is a Hispanic serving institution, because demographically, we're over 25% Latino. And we actually have more students of color than white students on this campus. However, those terms are used interchangeably. So only if you're a higher education nerd like myself, and actually probably everybody on this call, would you probably use a term like HWI or TWI. But nevertheless, it's important to understand that even though institution actually has a designation, it may not actually be predominantly white. Conversely, there are historically Black universities that actually have predominantly white populations. So I'm thinking in particular at places like Langston or Bluefield State in West Virginia, which actually have predominantly white populations.
Perfect answer. Thank you, Dr. Reddick. Mr. Fields, would you like to add anything additional?
I'm not going to mess with that. That's another drop the mic.
Another drop the mic. I know.
Another drop the mic moment. I'm not going to mess it up.
100% fire panel, okay? Once it's done, y'all just kind of walk away from the screen, okay? So I think that being said, panel, we have questions from our Real Talk fam, and let's get into these questions, all right? So Kennedy wants to know, what would be the benefits of going to an HBCU or PWI? And hello, Kennedy. So what would be the benefits of going to an HBCU or PWI?
I can share just from a student perspective as I reminisce, right? And I tell people this story just because I don't know that this would have happened at a PWI. I literally arrived at Houston-Tillotson having not completed documentation for enrollment. I showed up on the campus, and rather than them kick me off the campus because I hadn't taken the necessary steps to be enrolled there, they took me right down to the enrollment office and completed that documentation and got me what I needed, got me a schedule, got me into a dorm room, and got me in class. I don't know that would have happened if my mom had to drop me off on the steps of a PWI. And so just that open embrace of all students and any students, because I lack college knowledge. And so they were able to fill the gap for me in terms of, hey, this is what your FAFSA looks like. You need to do this every year. Here's a bulletin. These are the classes you need to take. But none of those were dinner table conversations as I was raised in a single parent home, and we were trying to figure that out. And so I think that from a student's perspective, those are two distinct things that I think that nurturing environment versus, going into an environment where you may have to figure out more than you are equipped to figure out, and you may not have as many scaffolds. I think those are some of the things that I felt like I may have experienced as a student.
Thank you, Superintendent Mays.
And I'll just jump in here and say, Kennedy, thank you for asking that. And this really comes down to what you were looking for as a student. I think, there are over 4,000 colleges throughout the country. There are over 100 historically Black colleges and universities. And so, you as a student and your family have to think, what do you want your experience to be? Do you want to be in a place to where you, depending upon what high school you went to, do you want to be in a majority to where there are people who look like you, people who understand you, people who are going to have similar experiences than you? Not to say that can't happen at a predominantly white institution, but these are the things that you want to think about. There might be a particular major at a school that could be a predominantly white institution that could offer you something else. It may come down to other factors. So I think you have to sit down and think about, what you are looking for and really kind of go about, this process, thinking about, what place am I not only going to get a good education, but where can I thrive? Where can I grow? And where can I be protected socially, emotionally, culturally, and whatever things you're looking for? And so, Autumn told us when we came in, we were going to keep it real. So I'll also say that in my conversations, there are, Blacks are not a monolith, that we come from all different backgrounds, all different experiences. And there have been some Black parents who said, I don't know if my child is Black enough to go to HBCU. Think about that. There's some people who may grow up in the suburbs, may have spent their entire lives in predominantly white environments. They say, I don't know if I have, what is that experience going to be like? And what I will tell you is that the most diverse experience that I have had in my life was when I was at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. Because in that cafeteria, there were people from the Caribbean, there were people from Africa, there were people who had all different types of sexual orientation. There were people from New York, there were people from DC, people from California. There were people who were first-generation college students. There were people who were fourth-generation college students whose parents were wealthy. And so the diversity that presents itself at these institutions are wide. And so I wouldn't want anybody to think that going to historically Black college university thinks that you are going to just go into a vacuum and all those people are going to be the same, because that could be no further than the truth.
Could I piggyback on that? And I think that were just excellent points. I want to echo what you said about is first and foremost, find an institution that's a fit for you. Your skills, your interests, your abilities, your values. You know, how does that tie in with the institution, the university that's going to fit for you? And our HBCUs are not all the same. There's over 100 HBCUs. So get to know the strengths of each of these institutions. I mentioned at the outset, we're strong in STEM and we're strong in liberal arts. What are you seeking to study? What is it you want to get out of this experience? In addition to what you want to study, but what is the experience like that you want? There are large institutions that we have about 6,400 students on our campus. So if you're looking for, you know, to go into a room and a lab and a lecture where there's 200 people, that's not us, because we have one faculty member to 16 students. It's a small, intimate environment. There are larger institutions. So think about what you want and what's going to be the fit, but get to know the HBCUs and do the comparisons across other institutions, PWIs, to determine what's going to work for you, because that time will come and go before you know it. What would you have done with, and I'm not going to say 4+ years. I want everybody on here thinking you can come into any one of our colleges and universities, and if you're taking AP credits, you don't have to be on a 4+ plan. I want everybody to get that in your head. You can finish in a timely fashion and you can get it done. And so start with that mindset that you can come in and you can be on a 3+ plan.
Woo. I tell you, go ahead, Dr. Robinson-Spann. I just had to take a moment because Real Talk is officially back. Go ahead, Dr. Robinson-Spann. Yes,
well,
ma'am.
I just want to add on the data aspect. So as everyone has mentioned, there are 102 about 4-year HBCUs, and compare that to the other number of 4-year institutions. So there's over 3,000 plus considered historically white institutions. So you have a small select group of HBCUs to work from, and you should really do your research. It's not that difficult, particularly when you use Big Future, to go through the different profiles and to see what majors, what activities, where you see yourself as part of the community. But a key point to understand is that most Black students do go to predominantly white institutions or historically white institutions. Only about 13 to 20% of a freshman class, first year class goes to a HBCU. But within those campuses, if you study economic mobility and personal relationships between friendships and how they're made between students from different socioeconomic backgrounds, studies have found that those are more likely to occur on HBCU campuses than any other type of campus. So the fears of whether you're going to fit in because you're coming from a different environment are not experienced by most students on HBCUs. That's actually more of a concern at various PWIs. So I do recommend anyone who has a question about like what it looks like in terms of demographics on a campus, check out Big Future, where we have the social page and you can see what the campus statistics are. And they are in percentages. So you see 5%, you see 12%. What you need to do is look at the total class size for that freshman class or for that student body and multiply that percentage, and that will tell you the approximate number of students. Most Black students attend a PWI where there are about 30 other Black students on that campus. So think about that. Is that something that you expect? Is that something that you feel comfortable in? When you're assessing your college experience right now as a high schooler, think about the various groups you'd want to be a part of, the various activities you want to be a part of, and if that campus that you are looking at is able to provide that type of environment for you.
Could I just add another footnote? When you think about the numbers that you were just citing, while the HBCUs comprise just 3% of higher learning institutions in the country, they produce about 20% of undergraduate African Americans and 25% of African Americans going into the STEM fields. So it's been said repeatedly that our HBCUs punch above their weight, even though those numbers, they reflect the enrollment at our institutions. But when you look at the success our HBCUs have had in preparing also judges, the Congress persons in the United States, and the list goes on and on. And many of you watching and your family members, you'll know those names of some of the notables that have graduated from our HBCUs that have left their mark and a huge impact. So again, we punch above our weight. We're small but mighty. And so it's important to note some of those names that you would readily recognize: Oprah Winfrey, and just so many others that are graduates at Bowie State University. We're known also for our fine and performing arts. And so we have a student who hasn't even graduated yet who's a Tony Award winner. His name is Miles Frost, and he's now performing. He's set to graduate in December. We also graduated Krista McAuliffe, a name your family members would know. She was an astronaut, the first astronaut educator to go up into space. And our lists go on and on. Samuel L. Jackson. And so get to know the impact that our HBCUs have had.
And just to add one more thing to that, my research proved that the reason why HBCUs punch above their weight and are able to graduate Black students at higher rate as comparable PWIs is because of the wraparound services that they provide to their students.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. You can't say that enough, how nurturing these environments are. I literally just finished having a conversation with one of our graduates from our top campuses, and she said what we couldn't have prepared her for was walking onto that campus and her working in isolation as a minority on that campus. She went to a big university, leaving Houston, Texas, went all the way up north. And so the challenges that she experienced, she said those were daunting as she worked to progress through. Whereas, like you said, in an HBCU campus, whether we're talking about a STEM field or law, you just get so much love and encouragement in terms of support of helping you along the way to persist and get past those tough times as a student.
I love it. When I tell you the panel is playing zero games, and we have a shout out for you, President Bro. We have someone saying, yes, Bulldogs in the house. That's from Carmen. So we have a couple of shout outs going on. Okay. All right. Please keep the comments and the questions flowing in the chat. We're going to go ahead and ask a few questions from Jahel. Jahel would like to know, how difficult is it to get admitted into an HBCU? Thank you, Jahel.
Does anyone, but I'll jump in. Again, it goes back to which HBCU, because we're all very different. I think it's a great question. What is needed is for you to research each of the institutions and looking at the academic programs you want to study, but then go through and delve deeply into the admissions process. There's a lot of information that's up on the website for our institutions. I would start with Bowie State University. Today, we look for a minimum SAT of 920, although SATs are optional. We are primarily focused on the GPAs, and for GPAs, we're looking at a 3.2 or above. So it varies. If you go to other institutions, you're going to have, for all types, PWIs and HBCUs, you're going to see a range, you're going to see an average. Don't let that deter you, though, because there are some institutions that have also interviewing processes. So they may see some potential in you, and they say, well, they're right on the edge. And you can sometimes request an interview to be able to demonstrate that you meet the requirements for admittance. So it really varies depending on the institution you're seeking. So explore, do your research, and apply to multiple institutions, because you just don't know, because of the demand and for these institutions, what might happen. For Bowie State University, we have 1,000 seats for first-time, full-time students. Last year, we received 13,000 applications. Yes, you heard me right, 13,000 applications. So It's very difficult. It's challenging for BSU. And it's just something that you need to think about for each one of these institutions. Look at the acceptance rates, look at the criteria that they have, and then get started early. Get started early. Many schools have early admittance, and you may be missing the window of time if you don't know what those timelines are. So go on to their websites, do the research, and make sure you set a calendar and a schedule like you would for anything else, any other task, and make sure that you're getting your paperwork in on time.
That's wonderful. So we have another question, and this is just a general question. It's from Mackenzie. And Mackenzie would like to know, what advice do you have for incoming freshmen, and how should they go about adapting to college life?
Well, I can take a stab at that. So my role as Senior Vice Provost of Curriculum and Enrollment and Dean of the Undergraduate College at UT Austin, I essentially oversee or help to oversee the experiences of over 9,000 incoming first-year students. And so one of the things that's most important to understand, whether you're at HBCU or PWI, a large institution or a small institution, is to make sure you are organized. So the most important thing is to make sure that you make a very strong relationship with your advisor. Your advisor is the person who helps you select classes. They will give you advice about what classes to take and when to take them and what sequence. And that person is probably the most important person you're going to navigate the first year with. The second thing I would say is talk to your professors. So I'm up here in my office here at UT Austin. I have office hours on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. And many times I'm sitting here by myself, because a lot of times students think they can only go to office hours if they don't understand a question or they don't understand an issue in class. Office hours are your time to meet with faculty. You're able to understand what faculty are working on, their research. If you want to tell them about who you are or why their class is interesting to you, or just something about them you found out that you want to talk about. You should always feel that's part of your tuition you're paying is access to faculty, to make sure you make those connections, because those connections are going to be important, because you're going to need a recommendation letter for internship, for a job, for a scholarship. You get that from getting to know faculty. And one of the most important things is to be a go-getter. Make sure you don't fall into the trap of saying, well, it'll come to me or something will happen for me. Things happen to you in the college environment if you make them happen. And I think you've heard from all these folks in the panel that really, if you are the person who's proactive, if you're organized, if you think carefully about opportunities you want to pursue, the folks who are on this call already have that kind of potential because you made the time to be here. So make the time to be present and find out all you can find out. Go to lectures, go to the extra opportunities that are on the campus. Here on this UT campus, we have lectures, we have speakers every single day from around the world. A lot of times students are like, well, I'm tired. I understand that. You got to rest. But there are very few opportunities you're going to have when you have access to all this information, all these incredible speakers, all these activities that are going on. So I would say just take full advantage of all what's around you and enjoy the sports. Because if you're a Texas Longhorn fan, hook 'em. It's a great year to be a Longhorn fan.
Just very quickly, just to follow up on that, just know if you are admitted to a school, they want you there. They want you to be successful, and they want you to graduate. In knowing that, do not enter into those spaces thinking that you are not enough, thinking that there's some ulterior reason that you have been admitted. You have been admitted because you are great. Knowing that, there's nothing wrong with raising your hand and asking for help. One of the biggest things that happens to us is we get on campus and we get prideful and we don't want to ask for help. I know Dr. Reddick has helped a lot of students. There are a lot of people who go to his office hours. I ran our academic advising, office for a number of years. And the people who came to the office the most were the people who had A's. And the people who did not come to the office were the people who ended up on the probation list because their GPAs, because they hadn't done the adequate work, because they didn't want to ask for help. There are resources available, be it counseling services if you need some help with mental health, be it advising services if you need help in an academic course, faculty, office hours that Dr. Reddick just talked about. And as much as these institutions want to help you, they can only do they can only do so much. You have to be willing to say, I need some help. And there's nothing wrong with that, because most of the people who are asking for the help don't need it. They just want to be that much better. So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's one of the best ways to be successful.
As a former vice president for student affairs, I have to give a shout out for student affairs on the college campuses. That's the area you want to get to know for co-curricular and all types of activities, clubs, organizations. They can get you engaged with something that's exciting to you, your interest. And typically at the beginning of the academic year, there are organizational fairs. They're there for you to explore. Walk up to a table, introduce yourself, talk to people, because just like you're walking around trying to figure out where you fit in, many other students are doing the same thing. And if there's not a club that interests you, I always tell students, then start one. If there's something there that you say, oh, I'm really passionate about, let the dean of students know this is something that you're interested in. A couple of years ago, I saw a few students who were interested in gaming. And that group has gone, it's called the Black Nerds. It's a national organization. They're on the campus. They now have on our campus close to 200 students enrolled in the Black Nerds on our campus. And it's a growing number because of the gaming interest. But just a couple of years ago, they were just a small group. So you just never know who else on that campus might have that same interest. Get out, get involved. And eventually, as you get acclimated at an HBCU, you then have the Divine Nine, the sororities, the fraternities. I'm not going to call out any one, because as a president, I always get into trouble. If I call out one, it's going to be, we have issues. But just know the Divine Nine is on the HBCU campuses, and it is a big deal. It is another way for you to engage in service activities and to give back to the community, the campus community as well.
Yeah, I would reinforce what Dr. Fields said. It's just, at the end of the day, it's relationships. So whether it's relationships with other students or relationships with the professionals on those campuses, whether you're at a PWI or HBCU, you want to build those relationships, because those relationships are capital that will fuel you for the next chapters in your journey. And so it's just critical that you start to build those relationships at the campus level. And like you said, have no shame. Be unafraid and unapologetic for what you ask professors for, or what you disclose to professors and leaders on the campus that you need. They will help you with anything and everything, but don't be afraid to ask for that help or that support. Even if they can't help you, they can turn you on to somebody that may be able to support you in whatever challenge you may be having on that campus on any given day.
I love that. And that's a perfect segue. I'll have to say, for our Real Talk season, President Breaux, you gave us the perfect segue. Please, Real Talk fam, make sure you mark your calendar for November 7th, because we're doing a special POV, being Black in gaming. So please mark your calendar for that, because it's going to be really, really fresh. And we're going to go ahead and do another poll, because I'm just real curious. We've been talking a lot about HBCUs, and I feel like you have to have this particular word in your personal lexicon, okay? HBCUs are known for having a yard. Real Talk fam, what is a yard? And we're gonna go ahead and let this poll play for a moment, because I'm curious to see people's responses. For poll number 3, let's go ahead and send that one out. All right, so we had a few choices on this, panelists. We had A, the campus library. We had B, the backyard of the president's house. C, the football yard on campus. Or D, a gathering place on campus. Now, I don't know if we have a lot of high school students, a lot of parents and caring adults and educators, but someone who is watching Real Talk knows what the yard is, because at 99.3%, the answer choice was D, a gathering place on campus. Panelists, talk to us. What's the yard? What does that mean in campus life? Is it popping? What's happening? I'm curious.
Let me jump in here real quick, because Morehouse's homecoming is October 28th. And my phone has already started to percolate for people to get back on the yard, the place that, no matter when you were there, you knew it was a gathering spot, that at any point in time during the day, people were there socializing, hanging out, talking about everything from the game last night to political debates to, any number of things. And it just becomes a spot that on any given campus, everybody knows. And so even graduating over 30 years ago, I'm excited to go back to that place because on homecoming weekend, everybody's going to gather there to try and find out what's happening this weekend. Even in this age of technology, that everybody can get on their phones still. There's something about being in that spot, understanding that this is where a lot of these relationships began. This is where you get to meet a lot of people, and just knowing that, while a lot has changed, some things haven't. And on any given campus, that yard is the place. And so I'm excited, for that time coming up. But, definitely those are my memories that will, come out. And I'll just have to do this, Autumn. I'm sorry. Shout out to Jameson and Nikki listening down in Houston, Texas.
All right. We're never mad at a shout out when it comes down to H-Town. That's okay. That's okay. So I'm curious, and this is just a general question. Thank you, Mr. Fields. What advice, All-Star panel, would you give to that student who was the first in their family to embark upon planning for their college or career? And then I'm going to add a little bit of an adjacent to that. What advice would you give to that caring adult who is wanting to help their child prepare for this as a first-generation student?
I would love to answer that question because that describes me. So yes, I may have a fancy title, I may have a doctorate and all that good stuff, but when I entered college in the fall of 1990, I was the first person in my family to go to college. And I came from a family that cared a great deal about education, but we really didn't know what to do. And so pretty much since the day I was 18, it's been a new journey every single day. And I really embrace my first generation identity. I think it's a strength because it means that I'm not afraid to ask questions. It means I have an incredible community in my family, in my community back in Southeast Austin that supports me, that's proud of me. And then you start finding other first generation college students that are also here to support you. And of course, first generation staff and faculty. And I love that President Breaux mentioned student affairs staff. I worked in student affairs at Emory University. Timothy, shout out to you. And I really found that when I talked to people who had similar experiences to mine, who were low income, we learned a lot from each other, and I felt I belonged. That's a really key part. And so something I want to just really quickly mention is that I've written a book about my experience as a student and as a faculty member at a PWI, which is called Restorative Resistance in Higher Education. And in the book, I talk a lot about the experiences of navigating the university environment. And it's challenging at times. But really, if you have a sense of spirit and understand you have the ancestors supporting you, you have your family supporting you, you have everybody who has your back. And it really is just a matter of making it known that you need assistance. And when you need assistance, you get it right away. One of the things I think college students really struggle with is saying, I can figure this out on my own. No, that's what we're here for. We're here to help. If you think you kind of got it figured out, but you might need a little bit of help, reach out to people, build yourself what we call a constellation of mentors to support you, people who are in teaching you in your major, people who work in student affairs, people who are in your family who aren't at university, but make sure you have a support system around you all the time because nobody gets through university by themselves. You need support, and make sure you ask for help, and you'll be surprised how many people will say, I will take you in my office and help you figure out how to do this thing, how to get that scholarship, how to get access to those resources that you need. So please do not hesitate and be proud of being first generation. There are so many campuses, most campuses have some kind of function or some kind of support system for first generation college students. And if I could make it to this point as a first gen student, so can you.
I think it's important throughout your educational career, and I agree with everything Dr. Reddick just said. It's important to find mentors as you go throughout your educational journey and into your career. I would venture to guess everybody on this call could at least list maybe 2 or 3 mentors along the way. They didn't get to where they are by themselves. So start from the very beginning, finding those mentors. It might be a mentor among the faculty, the staff, could be an upper class student, but open yourself up, as Dr. Reddick was saying, to allow people to help you and seek out those individuals who are going to be there to support you. Get yourself into places with people who are focused on achieving and getting the high grades and making things happen in a positive way. And that way, that brings others around who want to be a part of what you're going through. And so find like minds and find those mentors. Upper class students are on our campus and on many campuses. They're there. They know what it's been like for you. And there are formal offices for first gen students. But if you don't, walk in right away, just open yourself up to mentors who can help you. And I want to mention, for those of you who might be interested in research areas, faculty student research is a way to get engaged in the campus, and it helps you to get to know faculty in a different way. So if you're interested in a particular topic, you're really excited about an area, many campuses today are engaging students more in faculty student research, other experiential learning opportunities where you can get together with other individuals across the campus, but you're going to have to step outside of your comfort zone. And when it feels uncomfortable, that means you're doing it right, because learning, it's going to stretch you. You're going to be pushed and pulled, but that's all part of the journey. So settle into feeling a little discomfort from time to time, because that's telling you you're on the right path.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback on what Dr. Bro said. I was going to say just commit to the change process, because, I'm like Dr. Reddick, you coming out of an environment that looks so different from what you see once you hit the campus. You got people from different socioeconomic classes that you engage with that bring different norms. I think somebody said it earlier, it's not a monolith. So when you get to that campus, you're gonna, like you say, be stretched, and you got to be open to that discomfort because it's just part of the evolution. And when you get to the other side, you get to celebrate the newfound creature that you become just from embarking on that process, because it's just so much for you to grow from just from that entire experience if you just commit and open yourself up to the change process.
And just very quickly, I wrote a book, co-authored Black Families Guide to College Admission. But in that, parents, you have to partner with your children. That even if you did not go to college, you cannot just say, hey, apply, see what happens. I want to support you through this process. Obviously, you want to support them, but partner with them. This is, you have to have conversations. You have to have conversations about money. How is college going to be funded? You just can't say, hey, go apply for college. Then the student gets in some place, and then all of a sudden you have to have a conversation about whether or not y'all can afford it. And then what does it look like for loans and all kinds of other things. So you have to partner into this process. You know your children very well. So even if you didn't go to college, you know their strengths, you know their weaknesses, you know if they'll thrive going across the country or if they need to stay close to home. So, then also just keeping it all the way real, more than likely the people who are helping your children in this process don't look like them, don't understand their lived experiences, and you want to be a part of that as well. So we just don't want to, even if you didn't go to college, say, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to leave that up to the counselor at the school, because the counselor at the school probably may have a large caseload, may not be able to give the student all the support they need. So definitely you need to partner with your child to really have conversations early and often, especially about money. You have to talk about money. Do not wait till the student gets admitted into school to talk about money. All right.
Ooh, panel is on fire. Okay, let's go ahead and launch poll number 4. What is a wraparound service at an educational institution? Now, we have just heard a lot of insight, a lot of context clues from the panel on this, but what is a wraparound service, Real Talk fam, at an educational institution? And of course, I have to go ahead and take a sneak peek and see how our results are doing, panel. All right, it is launching. It's coming your way. Here it goes. Ooh. Illustrious panel, Real Talk fam, everyone is tracking. We are at 100%. So I said, what is an educational institution? And the professor and me try to throw us off a little bit. So I said, A, freshman interest groups. You may know about that, Dr. Reddick. B, peer mentors. C, counseling. Or D, all of the above. And we were just at 100%, but we're going to take 98.7%, all of the above. So Dr. Ashley Robinson-Spann, can you give us a little insight quickly into wraparound services and what that means?
Yes, so wraparound services include a wide variety of different activities, support groups, health and human services, counseling, different options that a college makes available to ensure their students can make the transition to college, but also build a life there, stay there so that they graduate within 4 years is the expectation. So I think it's very important for students to kind of do a self-reflection to figure out the type of experiences that they need to have, that they want to be exposed to. And during the college search process, utilize tools like Big Future to see what activities are available. Wraparound can include a coach and the relationship you build with them through the sports activities. It can include different cultural programs. My PWI, the University of Pennsylvania, they had a MACU program, which was I really don't know what it was in a sense. It was a bunch of Black professors that kind of just did different activities and events with the students. We celebrated different holidays. That's where we got the best food at during the year. So it's those types of variety of activities. They could be social, they could be academic services, the different tutoring that's available, different support groups for study habits. Those are the things that you should be looking for when you're going through your college search process to make sure that you can kind of envision your 360 life. Like, what would you be doing on this campus to be successful academically and personally?
Thank you. And All-Star panel, we are coming up right about time, but I have to ask one last question. And this is just one of those reflective questions, because we all know once you leave high school and you start new chapters, the time can just move so swiftly. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self about life?
Enjoy every moment. The time, it passes very, very quickly. Each day is a blessing. Each day is full of new opportunities for you to learn. I tell my students, and I harken back to when I was 18 years old, that learning happens everywhere. It's not just happening in a 4x4 classroom. It happens when you walk outside the door. So open yourself up to opportunities. I was very fortunate when I was in high school that the city of Philadelphia was my classroom. I went to a very unique high school. It's called the School Without Walls. And so that learning through my high school experience, those opportunities helped me understand the world is an exciting place to be. People are exciting. All it takes is for you to step outside your comfort zone, talk to someone that you don't know, and be curious about the world, because there's excitement more than anything. There's excitement every day. And then during this time that we're in now, there's even greater excitement. I'm envious of the students who are 18 years old who have all this information at their fingertips. What they can do with it is truly amazing. So open yourself up to new learning opportunities. Don't wait to just go in a classroom. Be curious about the world. And that's what I think about when I think about that 18-year-old. I was curious about the world, and it was exciting, and learning should be exciting.
Thank you, President Breaux.
At the risk of following President Breaux's brilliant words there, I agree with everything she said. I would say we have a motto at UT Austin, which is what starts here changes the world. And it's true. When you get here as a student, you'll be probably a little overwhelmed. You'll probably have way too much going on. You won't know how to balance things right away, but you're going to build relationships with your peers, with faculty, with staff members that endures. So I mentioned earlier that I spent this today with my mentor who raised me at UT, who was a Morgan State graduate, HBCU graduate. And I've known her for 33 years. She's the godmother of my son. And that's a relationship I had when I just showed up on the campus, skinny, hungry. And she said, let me give you some food and give you some advice. And I've been with her ever since. I also lead a study abroad trip to the UK. And I just love taking students, some of whom have never traveled outside the state of Texas, to England and walking through Harry Potter's dining room. We go to Christ Church College, the University of Oxford, and just seeing my students grow so much in a few weeks. So the opportunities that are awaiting you are just there. And just also know that college is going to have lots of wonderful things that are going to show you that you have mastery and you have excellence, but you're also going to experience some things where it doesn't go the way you want it to go. And that's part of the learning as well. I thank God for the experiences I had that didn't work the way I thought them to work at first, because I learned so much from it. So be a sponge, take in all these experiences, and also realize when you have a setback, that's an opportunity to learn. But make sure you get support and help, because nobody has to do this by themselves. As I said before, the college experience is an experience to be shared. So make sure that you've got a support network of friends, family, faculty, staff, student affairs folks around you. But take it all in, be a sponge, change the world.
Thank you, Dr.
I'm
Wright.
going to be very quick, and this is easier said than done, but do not compare yourself to others. I spent the bulk of my 20s finishing college comparing myself to how other people are doing, how much money people making, and comparing myself, and not just being the best person I could be, always looking at other people. So right now, the one thing you can do in this process, the one thing you can control in the college admission process is you can be the best you. And you hold on to that and continue throughout life to be the best you. And I guarantee you'll find a lot of success in that.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
I can share. I mean, mine is simple too. I mean, and I had somebody to actually tell me this when I was on the campus, and it was trouble don't last always. I mean, because challenges are going to confront you daily. I mean, challenges that you just never, ever, ever anticipated, but they'll come your way. And just know that it's temporary and that you'll persist, you'll get through it, and you'll be stronger on the other side of it. So trouble don't last always.
Thank you, Superintendent Mays. Dr. Robinson-Spann.
My advice is to be intentional. College is an opportunity to grow, but your intention is to graduate. And the data say when you graduate in 4 years, it's easier to get a job, it's easier to pay off loans, it's easier to build your life afterwards. So be intentional and do what you need to do to graduate. And that means talking to people, getting the support resources that you need, and also picking the right school based on your fit. So use Big Future to find that fit.
I told you, Real Talk fam, we were going to have a panel today, and the panel was just going to bring everything. I appreciate our phenomenal panelists. And as we think through what's next and what's happening in terms of what we're doing at Real Talk and what's going on in our Big Future world, I need you, Real Talk fam. We were here on time and we were ready for today's event. Please join us next week, because you've heard from our phenomenal administrators. But next week, you're going to hear from the real tea on HBCUs and PWIs from our student leaders. And so they're going to pour the tea and let us know what's really happening on campus. You do not want to miss that. That is going to be 8 o'clock on the East, 7 o'clock Central, and of course, 5 o'clock on the West. So you can also find us on social. Take a look at where we are on IG, on TikTok, of course, on Facebook and Twitter. And I need you, Real Talk fam, to really help shape Real Talk together with us. So there's going to be a survey that's going to come at the end of today's event. Please make sure you fill it out. And if you want to talk with us and you have some questions, because I know we couldn't get to every question, my apologies, we had hundreds. But if there's something that's pressing and that you want me to think about and have us consider as a Real Talk fam, go ahead and send me an email, okay? Send me an email. I will check it. realtalk@collegeboard.org. And you can always find previous events by going back to bigfuture.org/realtalk. We had an amazing panel, so I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to leave you with this because you heard from our phenomenal panel this said in myriad ways. One of my favorite quotes, and it comes from Maya Angelou. And you may remember this because it was a poem that was said and written in terms of poetic justice by the main protagonist, Janet Jackson, who was Justice. And she said, and I don't believe I'm wrong, that nobody, but nobody can make it out here alone. You may be a student, you may be a caring adult, an educator who is supporting your team, but know that you are not out here alone. Ask questions, ask for advice. This is what Real Fam does. This is what Real Talk is all about. Come find us at Big Future. And I can't wait to see you next Tuesday for Real Talk Tuesday. Don't meet us here, beat us here. Bye, fam.